I recently posted a video called The Problem with Atheism, where I tried to define my perspective on this whole mess, with what it really is a mess, people trying to define themselves by what they're not. And apparently a lot of people have not even considered this perspective before, so I think it's something that warrants further discussion. One user in particular misunderstood me to the point where he's turned around and blocked me. I guess he perceived my responses as being rather inconsiderate, and I must admit I have in a few cases gotten a little frustrated and annoyed because I'm just tired of dealing with this crap. This whole business of trying to define people by what they're not. And I'm tired of being considered by other people's definitions when I'm the only one who's really qualified to define myself. So this particular user that blocked me, I wrote a personal message to, and I, by my own consideration, I thought it was fairly well written as far as trying to express my perspective here. So I thought I would share it here with you all of my 8 viewers. Anyway, so I'm just going to read what I wrote here. And some of it may not be in context if you're not familiar with the context, but the gist of it, the meat of it should be pretty clear through the middle here. So it reads like this. Since you blocked me in a manner I've come to expect only from staunch believers in the God concept, you get the honor of receiving a personal message from me. But don't worry, it will be the last. Feel free to respond if you wish. There's not many people who give me reason to block them. Something like 12% of Americans are atheist or non-religious. How many of them do you think were involved in writing dictionaries? The atheist community is sick and tired of being misunderstood and are the only ones who are qualified to define themselves. If theist people have an understanding, a misunderstanding, and have been misunderstanding and misusing the word atheist for 20 years, maybe it's time they listened up and learned what it really means. After all, people have been defining themselves for some time now, people in the atheist community who have been subjected to this definition imposed upon them for these 20 years. This isn't what I've written, but I'm just interjecting that here. And just because you don't accept it, the meaning of the common meaning of the word atheist, doesn't make it false or true. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. Just because you don't accept our definition doesn't make it false. Just because it doesn't match the definition that's in the dictionary is what I'm trying to say there. Your dictionary is not a Bible. The problem with the current state of understanding, however, is that there are numerous people who fall into different points along a number of continuums, making it difficult, if not impossible, to establish a clear definition among those who don't believe. After all, there are 3 major categories that someone who does not believe in God can fall into. Number 1, they don't have a belief either way. They have not formed a belief yet. Number 2, they believe there is no God, an active belief that there is no God, directly contrary to those who believe that there is. Or number 3, they don't feel that it's even worth the time considering the notion. Hello. And there are variations among each of those camps. In the first camp, some people think that it could be possible that there might be a God. Others think that it's highly unlikely that there might be God. And they might even think that it's unknowable either way. And some of them call themselves agnostic. In the second camp, they're either adamant about their conclusion that there is no God, or at least open to the possibility that they could be wrong, although they don't think that they are. And in the third camp, either they think that knowing one way or the other whether God exists won't make any difference, that it's irrelevant. Hello. Or they judge the whole concept as absolute storybook silliness, which could be a symptom of disbelief, which would actually really put them into category number 2. Or they simply are apathetic toward the proposition, or simply even afraid to confront the question. I mean, there's so many possibilities in there. The problem in all cases is that this is just a silly struggle to define people based on something that they are not, which is not theist, which is why none of these labels really work or fit, or at least they certainly don't work for the group as a whole. They don't even work for some segments. Only what is can be clearly defined. You can only clearly define things in people based on characteristics that are there, that exist, that are known to exist. And there's this concept of God. Whether God itself exists, the concept exists. The concept is there. The idea is present. Somewhere in the distant past, somebody came up with this idea. Perhaps they were looking around at the world and the sky, knowing very little about it, and perceiving things and events as mysterious and magical, with the only explanation that seemed to make sense at the time was that maybe there was some super humongous powerful being in control of everything behind some proverbial curtain. Let's call it God. Of course, this God concept has had thousands of names across countless cultures, some even considering that there may be many gods. But through it all was this concept of this entity or entities that many people came to believe actually existed. That's the claim. That is, and always has been, the positive claim, that this God thing must exist. And people who do not share in this claim, who do not accept this claim, who do not believe this claim, or who otherwise want nothing to do with this claim, are not making any counterclaim about anything else that might exist instead of the God or gods in question. Maybe some do. But they're just merely not buying the bullshit. Therefore, to try to define these people in their own right is not possible in the context of this God concept, because you cannot define people by what they are not. Okay? That's the gist of my message here. Whatever you want to call someone, atheist, agnostic, gnostic, atheist, agnostic, atheist, or agnostic theist, blah, 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 fucking blah, can never be defined clearly enough to fit enough people in a way that will make them stick. Certainly, you are not going to find their definition in a dictionary. Of all places, I mean, by the time the damn thing is published, the meaning of the already inadequate word that only fits a few people has already changed. It's too nebulous, and again, it tries to define people by what they are not. You can't define people by what they are not. You can only describe attributes about who and what they are. They may be intellectual, rational, irrational, spiritual, questioning, accepting, gullible, whatever. But these are all attributes that define what people are. To say someone is an agnostic, for example, makes me want to say agnostic about what? It always has to be put into a context to make any sense. For agnostic by itself simply doesn't mean anything. Neither does atheist. This whole business of trying to label people who are not theists is simply silly, pointless, and a monumental waste of time. To be theist is just one choice out of countless things that you can be. And if someone is not a theist, that doesn't automatically mean there's something counter to that. It just means that they are not a theist. I'm not a toaster. I'm not an architect. I'm not an optometrist. Does not being any of those things warrant having a new word to describe me as being not those things? Of course not. So why should I be subjected to having to be defined by some meaningless word or words to describe how much unlike a theist I might possibly be? Are you getting it now? Yet? Anyway, I go on to say, I suggest you stop praising your dictionary and just open your eyes to the real issue here. You can't read what I wrote here or hear what I'm saying and not have a sense that what I'm telling you rings true somewhere past that dictionary defined veneer of yours, and possibly yours. You seem like a reasonable person with an interest in finding meaning in how people communicate. And as you said in one of your videos, words are tools. And like building a house, if you don't have the right tools, the right hammer or the right nails or the right nail gun, then you can't really build the house correctly. Same with words. If you're using antiquated words and are hanging on only because people refuse to stop using them, despite the fact that the only ones who still believe their meaning is still valid, despite the fact that they are not, then you're going to remain stuck in an antiquated path until you blend into the background noise without being noticed, as this new era of understanding relentlessly continues to usher its way in. Some words simply cannot be defined, mostly because the people defining them don't even know what they're trying to define. You can't define people by what they are not. That's my rant. Take it or leave it. And thank you for watching.